All right, so I will share my screen. Okay, so let's see. Um, what's a good problem to work on?
I think we're on 6.
Yeah, so um, yeah, okay, okay. Actually, so uh, let's see. Is Miriam here this morning? Okay. So, and what about Arjen? Are you here? You there, Arjen?
Yeah.
Okay. So, and let's see. And what about you, Derek? I know you're here, but
Yeah, I just jumped on. What number
yeah.
are you talking about?
So there are these kind of like group of questions that we've been working on. I guess the last one we worked on was number 6, but you see 5, um, 6, and 7 and 8 are all related. So, and
I don't think we got to 6. I think we did 5.
We stopped at 5.
okay, but they're really closely
Yeah.
related. So I'll tell you guys what um what I want you to do is, and so we got uh there we go. Um, so okay, so I've got Arjan and Derek and let's see, and I'm still trying to get Miriam, but it says she has a mic, but she's not responding. So um, I got you. So I'll put in chat and see. Miriam, question. So um, I'm tempted when people don't respond to just kick them out because I can do that. But who knows? Maybe somebody had to run and get a drink of water or whatever. So we'll come back to Miriam. Um, and let's see. I'm trying to get around to get people, not the same people all the time. Um, so Hannah, you haven't helped us in a little while.
Hello.
Okay, Hannah. And I'm looking for one more participant. Um, and what about you, Dat? You haven't helped us in a little while. Are you there, Dat? Dat.
I'm here.
Okay, good. So, um, what you guys should do is do 5, 6, 7, and 8. And I'll give you guys like 10 minutes. You'll find out pretty quickly that they're all tightly related. And I'll give you a hint, and that is make sure when you do this that you draw a tax wedge diagram. I showed you guys that last time. But that's if you do that, if you draw a tax wedge diagram and then you begin working on these problems, then you'll be there. You with us, Miriam?
Yes, just that my internet connection keeps on like getting lost and it'll kick me out.
Okay, you got to get wired. You're probably Wi-Fi, right? It happens to me when I'm on Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
So I bought a cable from Amazon, and I don't know. I think I paid $15 or less for a 50-foot cable. So now I can plug in if that starts happening to me. Just a recommendation. But since we have you, you can be our 5th participant. So we got 5 names up there. And so go ahead and draw the tax wedge diagram. So Derek, do you have a camera?
Yeah.
And what about you, Arjen?
Yeah.
And Hannah?
Yeah.
And Dat? Do you have a camera?
No, I don't have a webcam.
Okay. So and what about you, Miriam?
Yeah.
Okay. So draw your tax wedge diagram, everybody, and we'll take a look at those also. And I can give you guys some feedback on that. But go ahead and work on these 4, and I'll give you, it's 7:54, so I'll give you to 8:05. Okay.
Wait, do we work on whichever one or do we have a specific number?
Well, actually, okay, and this is the thing that may trip you out a little bit, but it's part of the learning exercise, right? Well, for 5 and 6, they're super closely related to one another. So, I mean, if you get one, the other one is like, boom, okay? So you might not have really thought about that, but that's what you should be thinking about. And for number 7 and number 8, they're also super closely related to one another, such that if you get one, you get the other one, and also they're really closely related to numbers 5 and 6. So yeah, do all 4, draw your tax wedge diagram, and then we'll come back and we'll check them. But if you try, for example, to do number 7 without doing number 5, you're going to do number 5 whether you like it or not anyway. You may not realize you're doing it, but you can't. The information in number 5 is absolutely required and necessary to be able to answer number 7. They're not independent of one another at all. So hopefully that answers your question, Miriam. But
yeah.
draw your tax wedge diagram first, and then it'll start to kind of click. Okay, see you guys and ladies in 10 minutes. Okay, and if you have a question, I'm gonna stop my video, but just put it in chat. I'll check back here after I go get a cup of coffee. Derek, you want to show us your tax wedge diagram?
Sure.
Okay.
Let's see. Try to see that clear.
Oh, you know what? Let me see. I can't actually, which is weird because normally when you're talking, you pop. Oh, there I go. I can see you. Yeah. Okay. I think that looks nice. And what about let's see, Hannah, you want to show us yours? I have no idea if it's accurate, Derek, but
Okay.
the diagram looks good.
Yeah.
You see it? I don't
Yeah.
have it color coded like Derek.
Yeah, and you know what? See, actually, Hannah, I don't know if you noticed the difference between yours and Derek's.
Mm-hmm.
but he did a tax wedge diagram, right? And you did like a shifted supply curve tax
Oh,
diagram. So it's totally okay, but I just want to point out, as like I said in lecture last time, in my humble opinion, that is a hard way to go about answering these questions because it confuses the eyesight when you put in the extra supply curve and you don't need it. So anyway, we'll stand by and let's take a look at Miriam. Are you there?
Yeah.
Okay, you want to show us yours?
Give me a second. Well, I didn't finish mine completely. Hold. That's what I have so far.
Yeah, so that is just you know, basic demand and supply curve equilibrium diagram. There's no indication of a tax
Yeah.
there. I don't know, did you see Derek's?
Yeah.
Okay. And then Arjan, you want to show us yours?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah. So again, that's like a standard tax wedge type diagram. I don't know if everybody can see it. Derek's was color coded, so he gets bonus points for that. But yeah, I mean that's the essential character of it. So good start. Thanks. So I'll ask, so Derek, Arjan, Miriam, Hannah, and Dat, do you guys need another minute or can you begin to answer these questions?
I'm stuck on 7 and 8, but I did 5 and 6.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't
And-
get to number 8. I didn't get. I'm almost done with 7. I didn't get to number 8.
Okay, so you guys need a few more minutes. That's fine. It sounds like that's the case. So I'll give you guys like 3 more minutes and then I'll start asking you guys what you came up with. Okay, see you in a minute. Okay, so how's it going? I don't hear.
For tax burden, is it the area or is it just the difference between the equilibrium and the tax wedge?
So you see.
I couldn't remember which one it
Well,
was.
if you guys have watched all the videos I sent you, you guys and girls, you ladies and gentlemen. So you all, if you all had watched the videos, then this wouldn't be a question. So, but it's a good question, Derek. What about Arjen, Miriam, Hannah, Dat? Let's go to Dat.
I'm ready.
How are you doing, Dat?
I'm ready.
You're ready? Okay. Okay. So, and what about you, Hannah? You ready?
I'm still stuck on 7 and 8, but I did 5 and 6, so
Ah.
yeah, I'm ready.
So do you? So what are you stuck on exactly? Is it?
More on the buyer's tax burden. I'm confused on how to start that. I did the tax wedge and everything, and
Right. Yeah, and you're probably because either you didn't watch or
I watched them.
you did. Well, they define tax burden there. I mean, I did.
I need like an example with numbers.
Okay, I don't know. Did that video have an example with numbers? I don't know. Interesting. Okay, so your confusion is similar to Derek's. And what about Miriam? How are you doing?
I'm stuck on the same one on 7. I
Okay.
did 5 and 6.
Okay, and Arjan, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm okay. Same as the rest.
Same as the rest. Okay, okay. Well, so let's go ahead. So everybody go like this. Go number 5, answer. This is in chat, answer, and then type your answer. Go like that. So you can all put it in. And if you're in the non-participating group this morning, meaning then you can put yours in too. Okay, Mauricio. Okay. So it looks like we got everybody. The only one in our group that was supposed to respond that, oh, there's, okay. Oh, see, a little bit different, 14.14, 14.15, 14.2. Okay, so big reveal, 14.15. So I guess I would say, Miriam, are you there?
Yes.
Did you just round up? Is that?
Yeah.
Don't do it. So remember, we need dollars and cents. So 2 significant digits. And you know, because you want Ignithium to score you the right way, and there's a little bit of wiggle room, but do dollars and cents.
Okay.
Just because, yeah, it would be a shame for you to actually have, and actually I think that your answer would probably still be within the range, but if you're in the habit of just like rounding to the first decimal, then there are a lot of cases in the different assignments where you get the wrong answer because your rounding error will be too big. So be careful. Okay. I mean, you might not have hit them yet. And I told everybody this, it's just like a little reminder. It normally involves calculations of in Ignithium that have small numbers. And this isn't a particularly small number, so it probably is fine. But if you end up getting a number that's less than 2, then that's where your accuracy gets really important. So if you always do dollars and cents, you'll be in the habit and you won't have to worry about it. But be careful. So, okay. And do the same thing for number 6, everybody. So now, okay. 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 And you know, actually, I want to point out something here, which is there is a penny difference, right, between these answers. And, you know, Ignithium is doing its calculations on the back end. But the tax is exactly $10. So they should be exactly $10 apart. And that's what I was getting at when I was saying is, and remember, if it's 1 penny off, it'll be scored correctly. And what's really going on is that in the background somewhere, when Ignithium's doing its calculation for these answers, the numbers for these particular questions are giving answers that have digits at the 3rd and 4th decimal place. And so there is a little like rounding someplace back there. But so just so you guys can see your tax wedge diagram, I'm going to stop this one and I'm going to share the whiteboard for a minute. And that's not okay. There. Okay, so here's our diagram. And there's demand. And there's supply. And I'll put the tax wedge in. Now, notice that I'm just drawing a picture to illustrate. So I haven't been super accurate about the slopes and things like that. But and I'm going to do this one, let's say light blue. So, but based on the problem, tax is equal to $10 there. And 41.15 dollars. So this is what everyone should have on their diagram so far. This is the way the tax wedge diagram looks. And I'm going to put 31.15. So in this problem, if I get one of these answers for the buyer or the seller, either the buyer's price or the seller's price, everybody should be fine with noting that that's the buyer's price, that's the seller's price. So buyers pay $41.15, $10 goes to the government, and then the sellers get $31.15. Now, with regard to tax burden, okay, tax burden is a little bit different than what we call the welfare effects of taxation. It's not how much consumer surplus is lost or how much producer surplus is lost or the change in consumer surplus or the change in producer surplus. It's none of that. Rather, in order to answer the question, what is tax burden? It's a much simpler question, and my diagram's not exactly accurate, but that's fine. But what we need to know is the equilibrium price. So in this case, Hannah, what was the equilibrium price before the tax?
15.
Can you speak up a little bit?
15.
I can't quite hear you. Your voice is a little bit quiet.
15.
That was the quantity.
1.5.
Yeah, that's the quantity, not the equilibrium price.
Oh.
Price is 34.
Okay, so Derek is it 34 even, Derek?
Yeah.
Okay. And do you see Hannah?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. And does everybody else, Arjan, do you agree with Derek?
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. And Miriam, do you agree with Derek? What with that? Is that yes?
Yes.
And what about you, Dat? Do you agree also?
Yes.
Okay, I think that was a yes. So since nobody objects, the other thing that I want to point out is that you have these two distances. There's this distance here, okay, and there's this distance here, okay. And I just put them in different places, but this distance, the blue distance, okay, and I don't know what color I want to do this. I'll do orange. This is the buyer's burden. And sometimes they call it tax incidence. And that distance there is the seller's burden. Okay. So,
Professor,
go ahead.
I had a quick question. I'm still like kind of slow on this whole tax thing. I don't know why it's not sticking, but for number 5 and 6, like how would you know what does a tax affect? Like I watched the video and everything, but I'm just still kind of confused on like where would you apply the tax to which line, I guess, or the like right now it seems like you're shifting the supply curve up. Is that correct or
Well, okay, it's a great question, Sonica, and I'll answer your question. But I want to finish this first, and then we'll come back to it. So just stick a pin in it, and then we'll come
okay.
back. Okay?
That's fine. I just didn't want you to like go ahead or like make you go back. It's okay. Thank you.
No. What you're asking is a great question, but it'll take us a little bit off topic. So I don't want to quite get there yet, or answer the question thoroughly yet. We'll come back to it. Just stick a pin in it.
Okay,
So
sounds good.
okay, so everyone now should be able to see the buyer's burden and the seller's burden. You see it, Derek? Derek? Yeah. Hannah? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Arjan? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the what is the buyer's burden? Okay. It's actually, remember, before the tax, and I'll do before the tax, the buyer is paying the equilibrium price, and the seller is receiving the equilibrium price. But as a result of the tax, now the buyer is paying, well, $6.15 more, right? And that's that distance. And the seller is receiving $34, but now they only receive $31.15. They receive $3.85 less. Notice, right? This is the whole distance is the tax, that's $10. And the burden for the buyer and the burden for the seller add up to this whole distance. So this is the division of the tax between the buyer and the seller. And for most people, and I'll just, I guess, talk to you, Derek. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm back.
Yeah. So for most people, this is what it's not the changing consumer surplus or producer surplus. This is what most people on the street, if you were to talk to them, would think of as the impact of the tax on them, right? You know, I used to pay $34, but now they put a tax on it, and it's now I got to pay $41, right? That's the buyer. And the seller, right? It's like, well, I used to sell this thing and get $34, but now I can only sell it for $41.15, and I only net after I give the tax to the government $31.15. So that makes sense, Derek?
Yeah. After I asked you the question, I had to go back and think about it because I was thinking I got it mixed up with the total tax revenue that's generated.
Yeah.
That shape as a whole. So after I asked the question, I kind of figured it out. But yeah, I got you.
Yeah. So it's a different concept than consumer producer surplus or tax revenue, and but it's an important one because it's one that oftentimes policymakers and people in the public argue about. And there's one other thing that I want to point out. So here, notice the tax is $10, right? But based on our analysis, nobody pays individually $10, right? Of that $10 in this example, the buyers are paying $6.15 of the tax, and the seller is, and I'll just use a common way of people talking about this. The seller's eating, right? They're absorbing $3.85 of the tax. So nobody's getting away without some burden of the tax, right? Both buyers and sellers. And this is part of the learning objective in talking about this. Now I'll ask, and I don't know if so Miriam, did you follow the discussion
Yeah.
of tax burden? So here's a good question for you. Why do you think this is the case, that the government's taxing this $10? We didn't say who the tax was levied on. Remember, tax levy has to do with the administrative requirement for who's supposed to turn over the tax revenue to the government. Usually, for most things, it's the sellers that collect the tax and have to write the tax to the government. There are only a few cases in which I've ever seen a buyer's tax levy, and that's where the buyer has to report and turn over the tax to the government. Can anybody think of a case where you buy something and then as the buyer you have to report the transaction and give tax to the government? That would be a buyer levy. Nobody? How about this? How about when you buy a used car from a private party? Right? Has anybody ever done that?
Yeah, because the buyer pays all the tax.
Right. And they have to get the seller to say how much they did the transaction for, right?
Yeah, try to help them out with that.
Well, yeah, I mean, a lot of times people will lie about it.
Right.
But they are responsible for reporting and paying the taxes on the transaction. The buyer is. So that's a buyer levy, right? And the other case that I've seen, I don't know if anybody else think of a buyer levy? Well, you have to fill out a piece of paper if you buy something and tell the government and then send them a check for it. No. Well, I'll tell you one other case that I know of. Buying cigarettes from a Native American Indian reservation. Has anybody ever done that? Okay. I guess nobody smokes around here. But if you've ever done it, you know that there are a lot of people will do that. My grandmother used to smoke a lot, and so my grandparents lived near a reservation, and they'd go over there and they would buy my grandmother cigarettes, and then y- they do that because the regular taxes of, I don't know what they are now. Anybody know what cigarette taxes are per pack?
Nope.
No, it's ridiculous. It's like, I don't know, $2 a pack or something like that. It's a lot of money per pack. And so the people at the reservation, they weren't responsible for collecting that tax. They're independent of, other governments. And but if you were somebody who lived near a reservation and you bought cigarettes from the reservation, then they would hand you a little form. You're supposed to actually fill out and report and pay your cigarette tax. Well, obviously, you have the same sort of problem, potential lying and all the rest of it, but it is a buyer's burden. So I guess the point, and I'll go back to you, Miriam. Does it surprise you at all that the tax is $10, but nobody's actually paying $10? Instead, they're splitting it between them.
Yeah, because I thought they were like each gonna pay 10.
Well, no, because the total tax is 10. If they each paid 10, then the government would collect 20, right? So that wouldn't, really make sense. But
Yeah.
what a lot of people think, if I tell you what's something that you buy regularly, um, it would be better if it was cigarettes or alcohol because those things are taxed. But I don't know if there's um, so I buy beer regularly. So I don't know if there's anybody else that um,
Yeah.
buys alcohol, but Derek's like, I buy beer regularly too. Okay. So but is there something you like buy regularly, Miriam, that, I don't know,
Just clothing. Like,
clothing? Okay. What if um and so you found out, do you normally buy like shirts or jeans or like what?
yeah, both.
Both. Okay. So what if you found out that there was a new tax in the state of California that every pair of jeans was going to be taxed $10 per pair, like they do cigarettes. Instead of $2 per pack, it's $10 per pair. What do you? What would you? How much do you normally pay for a pair of jeans?
Like $13 or $14, 15.
Okay. And let's just assume there's no sales tax because that'll confuse us. But instead of sales tax, now it's $10 per pair. So if you were to pay $15 per pair of jeans, then would you expect, if there's $10 per pair tax, that you'd have to pay then 25?
Hmm. So wouldn't it just be half of the 10?
Well, if it's $10 per pair, a lot of people think that they're just going to have to pay the whole tax. And actually, it's going to be $10 per pair, but you're kind of onto the right idea, which I think is it's going to be divided between the buyer and the seller. The seller is going to, if they were charging $15 per pair before, they're going to reduce their price a little bit. And do you know why they reduce their price?
So it won't be like too expensive and people would still buy them?
Yeah, because they don't want, and that's what the demand curve tells us, right? That if they raise the price, then they'll lose business, and they know that. So if they raise the price too much, if it's $34 per pair, and they just try to add on the whole $10, just think about, so 34, and if we went all the way up to 44, right? And then we go over to the demand curve, you see there's a reduction in the quantity that's pretty severe, right?
Yeah.
Do you see the point that I'm pointing at right now? So let's just put, there's like 44 there. So if they try to pass on, and this is a mistake that a lot of people make, and this is why I'm spending some time talking to you guys about it. If they try to pass on the whole $10 worth of tax, the quantity demanded falls a lot and they lose a lot of business. So instead, what they do is they eat part of the tax so that they can have their customers at the end face this price of $41.15, and they'll end up keeping some of their business, or more of their business than they would at $44 per pair. Does that make sense? Does anybody have any questions about it? Does that make sense, Hannah? Are you good?
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, the buyer's burden and the seller's burden together end up being the total amount of the tax, and the buyer's burden is how much the buyer's price actually increases, and the seller's burden is how much less the seller actually receives after the tax has been in place. Okay. So let's go back. I'll stop sharing this and go back to Ignithium, and let's see. So the buyer's burden, it says 715, right? So maybe I calculated something wrong.
No, that's right.
And 285. Yeah, yeah, probably if I had been more careful. I haven't had all my coffee yet this morning. So let's go back to the diagram really quickly. Yeah. So yeah, that is $7.15. So I just wanted to make sure that I had. Okay. So. Okay. And okay, so I'll ask, does anybody have any questions about 6, 7, or 8? No. Okay. And then the rest of these calculations, I think you all should be able to perform. So does anybody have any specific questions about other ones? Because I don't intend to go through every single question on every single homework assignment. Like I said, it's kind of going to be driven by you and your questions in this early morning session.